Hello and good evening, everybody. Jonny Torres back better than ever, refreshed after taking a week off, attending to some very cool business over in Orlando. I got the opportunity, the privilege to serve as one of the hosts for the Warrior Games over at Disney's or ESPN's Wide World of Sports. It was a full week of being alongside the men and women of our military and watching them do incredible things in the athletic realms, from wheelchair rugby, seated volleyball, archery, track and field, and all of these are veterans with a variety of disabilities who have continued to not only represent our country through their athletic efforts, but also have persevered through their injuries to, again, remain competitive, remain athletic. It gives them purpose, it gives them drive, and it gives them a continued association with the military branch that they already gave so much to, and it was just so cool to be there and you get to hear those stories firsthand, get to talk to a lot of them, and we're just blessed here to have hosted the games. I'd say twice in the past 4 years. They were here in Tampa about 4 years ago, and then of course Orlando this past week. Closing ceremonies were on Sunday, and hopefully they'll be back. They seem to love the Wide World of Sports complex, which of course it's a world-class facility, and I think nothing would be cooler than to continue to host the men and women of our military and those Warrior Games. And obviously having Disney on site is a huge bonus. It's a huge magnet, to get more people to come. But again, all of our military branches were represented, in addition to a team from Ukraine. Which again, that alone, I mean, just thinking about it gets me a little choked up. And Team Canada as well, represented there. They came out in huge numbers in terms of support, family, friends, all there cheering on their athletes. And if you want more information, just look up the Department of Defense Warrior Games online. I'm sure you can get highlight videos and you can see the results from the past week and learn more about this amazing event. It's also free. Which again, most people don't know about. And you could literally have gone the entire week, seen all of the sporting events entirely for free with your family. And so keep that in mind next time you hear them, if they happen to be in your town. I'm Jonny Torres. Thank you so much for tuning into the Yard Sign, wherever you may be watching, listening to the show. Don't forget, you can catch us not only on Facebook and YouTube if you want to see our beautiful faces, but you can also subscribe to the audio version of our podcast at your favorite podcast platform, just about anywhere in the world, especially over the tech overlords at Google, Apple, Spotify, Audible, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey, and Samsung podcast platforms. Again, very impressed by the Samsung folks who account for about a third of our audience. And then about another third of that is Apple. All right, we're going to get right to it, folks, because we honestly, we're starting to kind of break down all the topics, and they all just tied back to the primary election. So today's show, the primary election extravaganza, joining me as always. Again, we got the A team on the docket for today. Anibal, David Cabrera, Joe Wicker. What's up, fellas?
Oh, we could hear ourselves. Oh,
are you out?
Uh-oh.
How about now? See, that's why we were trying not to. There we go. How about now?
Well, while they try to figure out
folks.
what's going on their side. Hi, my name is Anibal David Cabrera. I've been here
Is it working?
forever.
There we go.
And I only get to speak every once in a while.
All right. We're here.
Look at that.
And that's by design.
It's magic.
Yes.
Just adjust this really
Oh
quick.
my gosh, could you make
Well, I
any
brought
more
back
noise?
some of that Disney magic with me. So
It was cool that you were at that event. It's one of those things where, like, as a veteran, you're like, I guess I'm glad that I don't qualify.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, it's just, gosh.
And I was able to really. It's like nails on a
Sorry, guys.
chalkboard.
Not like
Sorry,
we
guys.
planned.
Hold on, I'm going to mute
this
you there
ahead
for a
of
second while you get
time.
that sorted
No,
out.
he's good now. He's good
Okay.
now.
I got to hang out with the Army team quite a bit. One of their coaches was a local guy who lives in Orlando by the name of Joel. And incredible guy, has a young daughter and went out there, probably played in like 4 or 5 different events.
Yeah.
It's just unreal. I mean, these guys go from playing like wheelchair rugby one day to then doing like track and field and swimming and archery and seated volleyball, wheelchair basketball, and it's just, I don't know how, I don't think I'd make it past the first day. I mean, and these guys are out there doing 4, 5, 6 events.
I'm loving it. I like it.
You're off.
I think you're off still.
Again? There we go.
There we go.
We got a faulty cable.
We've got a faulty cable
There
here.
we go.
Yeah, I think it's great that we have that program. I knew, veterans need to try to find a way to stay connected and stay physically active,
Yeah.
because, you come home and, you get out of shape, the military keeps you in shape.
Well, and I could tell
if you
by
lose a limb, you definitely have some.
Well, I could tell by talking to some of them that emotionally, the fact that they had lost a limb or had a major injury, I mean, really devastated them, even more than just not being able to serve any longer. It was just kind of compounded the fact that they couldn't serve any longer. And so for a lot of them, the fact that they could wear the branch's name on themselves again and represent the branch again in some form, what really kind of gave them a renewed sense of purpose and drive.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, like I said, I think back to, listen, when you're in a combat zone, you have some weird conversations, you have some real conversations. And, I remember being in a Humvee, and that was back when EFPs, for those that know what those are, explosively formed projectiles, that the Iranians sent into Iraq, and were training the Shia militia to use them against us. But this particular type of IED would shoot out molten copper, okay, and that would just slice through a Humvee like nothing. I mean, just like a hot knife through butter. There wasn't enough armor to stop it, and there was like this graveyard of vehicles, and we were in there for something. We were stripping windows off of another Humvee. I won't go into the story, but we were stripping stuff off Humvees, and you're walking through this graveyard, and you see these holes, that are the size of a softball or even like a small basketball or something, and in the side of the door, and you're thinking to yourself, just based on the location, like that person didn't make it, or you see him down at the bottom and you're just thinking, oh gosh, that dude lost his legs, and I remember one of the conversations with one of my buddies that was on the team. He literally was like, I sit this way with like one leg out and one leg back because I think like, well, maybe if I get hit, like I'll only lose one, like that way I don't lose both. And I mean, you just start having these weird, almost superstitious type conversations,
Yeah.
It's like, well, if I have to get hit,
anything
like
that'll give you an edge.
Yeah, it's like, well, maybe I can improve my circumstance, if we do things this way. Or,
Right.
Maybe let's switch it up, and anyway, so, and you actually do make decisions on the basis of some things like that. You switch up your routes and you switch up your order of march. Like you might even change out like who's going to be sitting where. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I can't even imagine, what it's like for those guys, but I'm glad they're active. And because, people that lose limbs, it's kind of like if you think of, diabetic patients and things like that, like they lose limbs, due to their illness or whatever, but, it comes with other medical challenges,
Right.
I mean, you lose a limb, and that's not just the end of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Typically, there's other challenges.
Yeah, there's other issues, and then whether they've lost a limb above the knee or below the knee, that determines kind of like the type of prosthetic and what kind of, mobility they're going to have from there on. So it's a lot, man. I can't imagine it.
Well, yeah, and then imagine tacking on to that, the physical state that you have to be in to be able to compete in 4, 5, 6 sporting events. in
Like
a
I said,
matter,
I'm glad
in
they're
a
staying
matter of a
active,
week.
yeah.
I mean, you know, it's incredible.
I mean, I already suck at basketball. I'm not sure if I do any better. I'm not sure if I could do any better if I could just like wheel right up to it. But
Well, you know how
I can't run up to it.
you
so,
know how
I
brutal
mean,
rugby is.
that's a rough
Wheelchair
sport.
rugby is
Oh,
like just as brutal.
Are they crashing? I didn't
Oh,
see
yeah.
it. I mean, yeah,
it looks so intense.
yeah, because rugby is rough.
Yeah, they have. I mean, the wheelchairs are even specifically designed for impact. You know, so they have
they
guards on the sides. You know, the wheels
can
are
run into
slightly
each other.
inverted, and some of them have rails. You know, that come along.
Yeah.
You know, they have a basket for your feet, and then depending on whether you're an offensive or a defensive player, depends on whether you have kind of like a steel beam along the front, you know, basically to hit other people with, or the defensive ones will have more of a basket type of thing, which actually has kind of like hooks to like hook the person that you're defending.
Oh wow!
And
Interesting.
They use the wheelchairs to block and stop the other players from being
Right.
able to move around.
Right.
And yeah, it is no joke. And I mean, they're flipping each other over, and you know, and you know, then 2 or 3 people have to come out and get them right side up. You know, or sometimes
it
those
looks
guys
really
get
cool.
Yes.
Or something they do it themselves.
Yeah,
And
sometimes
push,
they'll
like,
get
jump
themselves
off.
right
Oh my
side
gosh,
up
it's
all
so
on their
cool.
own, which is even crazier. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So, all right. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. Don't forget, you can send us your comments here as Anibal watches social media live while we are doing the show. We are going to be talking about the primary elections, and we've got the Department of Elections website pulled up, ready to go. Let's kind of first start with just overall opinion, kind of generally on, you know, how primary night went. How are you guys feeling about the results for the primaries?
I didn't think there was a lot of surprises.
No,
I mean, you know, when you've been in politics long enough, you kind of see the writing on the wall for some things.
some close calls.
Some close calls, yeah.
Yeah.
The
state house races were closer than I thought would have went through. Congressional, I think they all fell where we all thought they were going to fall.
Or even deeper. I mean, you know, some people lost by bigger margins than.
Surprisingly.
well, if you take CD 15, the congressional district that was created through the census and the redistricting process, you know, Dennis Ross, the former congressman from that area, had gotten into that race, and when that happened, I thought, oh, okay, you know,
same.
you know, I was like, okay, so he's going to come back, and that's going to be that. And then things really got interesting. Jackie Toledo was in the race, representative from mainly South Tampa. Kelly Stargell, who's a former state senator from mainly Lakeland area. And then all of a sudden, you know, Laurel Lee, former Secretary of State, former judge and attorney and wife to former Senate President Tom Lee, got in the race. And when that happened, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then Dennis, and then the former congressman
just walks out.
stepped aside. And I wondered at the time, I was like, you know, did he just realize, you know, I mean, his statement basically was like, hey, look, you know, it's just.
I think the powers to be probably pulled him aside and been like, hey, man.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Yeah, well, and he was going to have an uphill battle, and you know, it's a great time to be, you know, a woman in the Republican Party.
I don't even think
you know,
so. I don't
or
even
even
think
a
that was
minority.
it,
Well,
though.
I
you
really
don't think
that-
you don't think there was an issue with the fact that it was him up against female? You just think it was
I don't think it was the
stuff?
female male part. I think it was the internal politics part.
Yeah,
You when so the
Well, I
beginning.
think that
in
was the
beginning-
deciding factor,
Yeah, in the
but-
beginning, there was Jackie Toledo, there was Grims, there was Jay Collins, and like that kind of
right.
trifecta
That's
situation was really. I was looking at like I
There was
guess,
a lot of change, yeah.
But when you saw Dennis get in, I'm like, okay, that makes more sense for that
Yeah.
congressional district. And
Right.
then when Laura Lee jumped in, and I was like, okay, there's just a matter of time. Now there's too many
Yep,
people
yep.
on top with the right name recognition for that district.
But let's be honest, given what we know, even behind the scenes, about former Congressman Ross, having 3 women also towards the top billing in that race.
It's tough.
I think he would have gotten. I think he would have gotten beat hard.
Oh no! If Laura Lee would not have jumped in, this would be his seat. I think this would have been his congressional seat.
Yeah, I mean, Stargell.
He has the name. He has name recognition.
I think he probably could have handled Stargell. Maybe.
Yeah, I agree.
And Stargell did a lot better considering how little there is left of Polk County in that district.
Correct.
Yeah,
very much so.
I was just going to say. I mean, that's the problem I think they faced, and then also, consider the same thing applies to Dennis Ross, right? He lost a big part of his former constituency, and the fact is, I mean, look, I sound like a Monday morning quarterback today. I mean, I didn't give you my prediction ahead of time, but I pretty much knew that Laurel Lee was going to take it. I mean, once she got in, I was like, this is it.
And that wasn't away from our positions as a whole. I mean, we all felt that as well.
Yeah,
as soon as
I was
got
like,
in
she's
and
not
Jay
gonna
Collins got out, I was like, okay, that's a lot.
No one's going to beat Laurel Lee. And even though the governor didn't endorse, I mean, he didn't have to.
No.
I mean, it's like, come on, dude. I mean, he appointed her a judge. He appointed her Secretary of State. There's a de facto trust level there. She has the right. I think she had the right to tie herself to DeSantis through the campaign.
Oh, sure.
And I noticed, and then the negative mail against her was like, oh, she quit. And it's like, guys, come on. It's like, he's not endorsing her because he's just staying out of it. He doesn't have to. But
well, and they played also that fine line where they tried to bring in the question into question our election results. And her role in all of that.
Yeah, they said that she didn't really.
And people forget Florida did a really good job of their voting integrity.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing.
There's not many examples in the state of Florida that you can put.
Yeah, exactly.
About and now don't get me wrong, it's a good piece of red meat for Republicans right now, no matter what. Even though we had one of the best election systems in the country, Republicans everywhere want to beat that drum. And you see all these Republicans in Hillsborough County and other parts that are really beating the drum.
But that's the thing,
for voter integrity, it means nothing.
You have to be careful. You have to be careful with that
rhetoric
line of messaging because it is killing us out there.
Yes.
I mean, you have. I read on social media somewhere where a woman came to somebody's door advocating for DeSantis, and bringing into question the integrity of voting by mail. Republicans have been winning voting by mail for decades. And now, because of what happened during COVID, now you've got these people out there telling people not to vote by mail.
This isn't Pennsylvania. This isn't Arizona. You cannot do that here.
Yeah, I mean, look, I want every single. I'm not cool with any slippage when it comes to that. I don't want a single person who's not registered to vote. If you're not registered in the, I'm pretty hard nosed on this. If you don't know where you're supposed to be voting, or if you didn't, fill out the paperwork on time or whatever, like, I want people to vote, but come on, you got to accept some responsibility. So the voter rolls need to be cleaned. People need to, know where they need to go, do what they need to do so that they can participate.
And I agree with everything you're saying, but that is not something that Hillsborough County needs to be focusing on. Hillsborough County needs to be focusing on why is there a deficit of 30,000, probably even more now, 30,000 Republicans versus Democrats. We're never going to win one.
Tying it back to to Laurel Lee and her position as Secretary of State, who, for those that are don't know, basically oversees elections process in the state. The thing is I want election integrity. I know everybody does. I'm all about it. I'm all about figuring out anybody, going to these warehouses and finding out who's registered at a warehouse. I think there's something like 1,200 people or 1,500 people that are actually registered at the Supervisor of Elections office. I don't know how that goes over. I don't know how that even happens, if that's true. I haven't verified it, but if that's true, I don't even know how that's allowed.
Apartment complexes are horrible.
Apartment complexes are terrible. The voter rolls need to be cleaned. They need to be cleaned. But here's the thing. Florida went for Trump by like over 300,000 votes, which was like double what the previous election.
Right.
So if you're going to claim that the former Secretary of State, now Republican nominee for Congressional District 15, Laurel Lee, was somehow negligent in the elections, it's kind of hard to say that in Florida, when in Florida, as far as I know, there hasn't been any election that's been brought to legitimate question.
Correct.
That I'm aware of.
No.
I'm not saying there's not problems, and I'm not saying don't look.
Right.
I'm thinking of the late Greg Prentice. He would be texting me right now. He knows. Greg would be texting me right now if he was watching, and he would be giving me all this data, and he would be like pushing against me, So I'm all about election integrity, but that strategy of sending mailers to my house telling me that like Laurel Lee like failed us on the election, it's like, what are you talking about, dude?
Yeah,
right.
Like Florida pretty much went off without a hitch. I think we're okay. I knew she was going to win. I was getting 3 times as much mail from her, and she did win. So
she did win. I'm surprised where Jackie Toledo fell on third. I was a little surprised about that because she was leading before Stargell and Lee jumped into this race. I truly believe that, honestly. Grim, I'm not
they
surprised.
were hitting Toledo. I forget who it was. I forget whose pack it was.
So Kevin was
can you try to
hitting
find
hard.
That mail piece where they holy Toledo,
Congressional
Batman.
District 15.
Kevin was hitting that hard, and I was like, "Where is this coming from?" Because they were like, "Oh, Kevin's moving up in the campaign." I'm like, "This definitely does not show any kind of movement." He only got 8.7% of the vote, so I'm really surprised of that outcome and everything else. So I'm not.
I
Again,
didn't even know.
Again, I'm not surprised that Laura Lee won in this district, not at all.
Well, and
I'm
also
a little surprised that Jackie
with
Toledo
such a
went
wide
third.
field, the fact that she ended up with such a large share.
41.5%.
I mean, it's crazy, especially for someone who, again, on the surface, really has very little name ID. I mean, she was Secretary of State, but how many people do you think actually know who the Secretary of State is?
Yeah, they don't. But you got to keep in mind.
But is it the Lee name?
Tom
It's the
Lee's
Lee-
been
it's the Lee
representing.
name.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
been representing Brandon, East Hillsboro for a while.
And another,
Right.
and we've talked about this before. Jackie Toledo should not have been a race that Jackie was in. This was not her district.
No, and I continue to wonder why
didn't
she didn't
understand
run.
it. I
Why
didn't
she didn't
understand
run against, put herself up against
Kathy
Janet
Castro?
Cruz. No, run for that Senate seat against Janet Cruz.
Yeah, why didn't she? Because she knew she was going to lose. Just knew.
I don't
knew
think
that
so.
It was a
So
loser?
far, I mean, Jade looks like he has a legit shot at it.
does he?
We'll get there in a second, but I
Can
don't
you move the window to the bottom right?
Oh, you're still right.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
So you'll see the breakdown right there in that situation. Again, I'm of the opinion that as soon as Laura Lee jumped in, she was going to win that race. I love Jackie Toledo to death, but that just is not a district that she should have been running in. She worked her tail off.
Yeah, I mean, what did Stargell get? 27.
Yeah, but that's because Stargell actually represented that district.
I know, but that's still a huge gap between
Yeah.
Laurel Lee and Kelly
It's a
Stargell.
big, in politics, 12, 13 points.
Jesus.
That's a big
That's a big
gap.
Especially for a first actual election.
Yeah.
For a first time candidate.
Yeah, but think about it though. I mean, again,
The name.
yeah, and I mean, she's part of the executive cabinet. I mean,
Yeah, but again, how many people knew that?
But people knew her husband, and that's
No,
all that matters.
that to
I
me
know, but
makes
there's
more
a
sense.
lot.
Yeah, that's what makes more sense. So there are some
The
theories
Tom Lee
out there.
connection makes more sense.
There are some theories out there
Tom
in
knows how
regards
to
to
win.
that.
Hey, he knows how to win races.
Yeah.
So you can bet. I mean, I just knew that when she got in, that there was going to be plenty of resources, top level professional campaign being run, and if you want to drill down into kind of like who's probably going to be more successful in Congress.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Laurel was probably going to be more successful.
I think her or Jackie. Jackie was
Jackie's
very
a-
successful in the legislature.
Yeah,
she's
she had a lot of
She's,
experience. Yeah.
she's also a heck of a fundraiser.
Yep.
I mean,
And Jackie
her
works
ground game
hard,
is
and
amazing.
I know she works hard.
Yeah.
And
Her ground game is
and this
amazing.
isn't going to
Yeah.
be the last Jackie or
No.
Kelly, because both of them are very strong women.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
I
they're saying
respect
that
people that work
that's Kelly's pack was the one that was being the aggressor against Jackie.
Against
so it was
Jackie?
really
Sure.
the second and third.
Well, she was
fighting.
going after the wrong candidate. Then
Yeah.
she didn't have to.
That's
Right.
what they say.
Yeah.
That we're going back and forth with the theories.
I thought y'all should have done a show on mailers because I wanted. To
We
bring
couldn't
it,
get
but
in.
I wanted to bring. I wanted to bring it, but
We can still
Yeah.
do
the
that.
mail
We can grab
piece,
it back in.
the mail piece that I got
things are getting
against
ridiculous.
Toledo. I mean, it was rough. They made her face look like the Joker. Right? So they painted her face white. She had big red smile lipstick. Her hair was green, like the Joker. And then it was like the title was like "Holy Toledo, Batman" or something like that or whatever.
geez.
I mean, it was pretty.
So
you know.
let's
Someone
go.
was having
So
fun.
we're going from
Yeah.
15. Let's skip 14 real quick and go to 13 because that's a
Yeah.
lot of fun as well.
you go.
And that was also very female driven.
Well, I mean, on 14, really, there's not much to discuss.
there is a lot to discuss on 14.
Okay, all right. Well, then
That's why I
we can
wanted
go to 13.
Yeah. So with District 13, you see that on the below. Anna Polina Luna has been officially set as the winner of the primary exec of that part. Also by 10 points behind. And this was the Kevin that was also. I'm very
I'm surprised by Amanda Mackey ending up in third. Like she did worse her second time out.
Yeah.
than she did her first time out.
I was not expecting that.
And that, like from a political, like, future standpoint, that is not good. Like, you're supposed to improve, you know, even if you don't win, you need to be improving.
I was expecting Anna and then Amanda.
And then Amanda.
That's what I was
well, because Kevin Hazlett came out, and again, from all reports, I mean,
he had money, right?
He's likable. A lot of people who know him like him.
Oh, and he's from there,
He
right?
did raise a lot of money.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, he's from the district, which also gave him an edge over Mackey and Luna.
Because Mackey's kind of.
I think had Hazlett got in earlier, I think it would have been his race.
You think so?
He also got in late. He also got in way late.
Yeah, but Luna's got the whole Trump.
Yeah, but I think
that's
he was gaining.
Yeah.
He was gaining
that's
ground.
That's a district that could be flipped.
She plateaued. I think she kind of.
Well, I see what you're saying. Yeah, at
he
40,
kind of hit ceiling a long time ago.
I see what you're saying. She may have literally kind of hit her ceiling there.
At
and
44%.
what you're saying is, well, because she is a little controversial. So what happens is somebody like Anna Paulina Luna has a floor. Her floor was probably 30% or 35%.
Well, and
she
Mackey,
was gonna get 30 to 35% no matter what.
That's
right?
the
and Mackey was definitely taking votes from Hazlett.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So
and they were splitting votes. Let's just say it that way.
If you're voting for Anna, you're not voting for Amanda, and if you're voting for Amanda, you're not voting for Anna. Like, they weren't taking votes from each other
because they were against each other last time. Exactly.
Christine Quinn was in that mix. I'm not surprised at all of her position, but I think this is also it for her. I could not imagine seeing her again.
Quinn?
Yeah, for another.
I mean, honestly, nice lady, but how much money do you have to lose before you realize that
I don't know.
This is either you're out of your league, you know, in terms of what she's running for. Hey, you know, run for city council, run for county.
How many times have we said this? There are a lot of good people that run.
She could probably walk into a city council.
She sure could.
If she could pick a city that she wanted to stay in.
Well, that too.
If she, so if Christine Quinn is watching, hey, look, you know, I don't think anybody's trying to be against you, but the fact is that you gotta understand the lay of the land. You gotta be realistic about it. I love national politics, so I understand why people want to run for the big positions. I get it. It's cool. It's sexy. It's the hot topics. You know, it's the big controversial topic. Nobody wants to talk about the red light or changing the speed limit from 55 to 65.
I do. Because I want to go from 65 to 75. Like,
I'm with you.
I'm okay with that.
But you get what I'm saying. Like, people just don't want to talk about zoning and code enforcement issues.
I love it.
Kimberly says that the Stone endorsement.
The what?
the Stone endorsement might have hurt Mackey.
Roger Stone endorsement.
I don't think so.
I can't say anything anymore because he's actually, allegedly, he's now on the outs of the Trump administration. So
I just want to know how Roger Stone makes money. What does he do for a living?
What he did right here.
Consulting. Endorsements and
doesn't he charge?
Oh, people definitely
doesn't he charge for the endorsement?
People definitely pay for endorsements.
Yeah.
It's insane endorsements. And we're not going down that little rabbit hole of organizations thinking that endorsements do anything for people's actual election cycles.
Really quickly, back over here in East County, Lawrence McClure drew an opponent. You want to stick to that?
Let's do congressional and then we'll do House districts.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so
I thought we were done with
District 14, which is a really quick district at the end of the day. So there was the up and down if James Judd was going to get into the election because he signed the wrong oath. Jerry Torres may have not been in the country when he had his guy
when he signed his
paperwork.
when it was witnessed. You were in Greece, bro. Like
he was in Africa.
He was in Africa when his paper was witnessed. It's like,
and the person that endorsed the paper was from like Mississippi. Like, it was just weird. Like, you couldn't even fly into into town for like 5 minutes to get you obviously have enough money to do it. So again, our friends of the show, Mike Beltran, was able to make this happen, and you know what? He's a good lawyer because he was able to get Jerry Torres back onto the ballot, and like everything was legit and it was good to go. So I was like, good job, Good job.
Yeah, so he probably he looked into it and figured it out.
Oh, that man is genius. Of course he figured it out.
Yeah, the thing is this goes to show why, money issues, campaign finance issues, and just the election law stuff. Like, if you don't know what you're doing, which you probably don't, right? If you're a candidate, you probably don't know what you're doing.
Almost no one knows what they're doing.
You've got to have a consultant. You've got to have a treasurer. You got to have a team that's going to help you if you can't even file your paperwork right.
And even then, it's a whole different conversation.
Every show, bro. Every show. Every show. The stupid thing goes off.
So again, James Judd, congratulations. He won 53.1% of the vote.
All right,
he will be going against Kathy Castor in November, who got 90.4% of the vote. And this is where we're going to have issues.
What are you talking about? Kathy Castor got 103% of the vote. What are you
talking
about?
So this is where we have, I had to double check to make sure the math actually worked.
She got 112%.
The reason why I'm saying that this is where it's going to have to work is because, one, James Judd is going to have to raise at least $1 million to go against Kathy Castor. And two, the numbers are just not in favor for James Judd.
Is it still 60-40?
The total Republican vote in that district for all Republicans was 38,000 votes.
For the primary.
For the primary. How many people do you think voted for Kathy Castor? Just Kathy Castor.
What did you say the Republican number was?
38,000.
38,000, so we'll call it 40,000. So that means they had 60,000.
62,000 people voted just for Kathy Castor.
Wow. There you go.
Just for Kathy Castor.
How many?
Out of 70,000 people.
So they had 70,000 people show up on primary election day.
69,177. We had 38,000.
We had 38. They had 69. Okay.
Yeah. The numbers just don't work.
30,000 votes separate in the primary election, which means that's like so we're talking like 60 or 80,000 vote difference when it comes to the general election.
Unless there's
no Republican win.
And that's kind of why I wanted Torres to win that race. I'm going to be honest. I don't lose any bones for this one. You need someone that has the money. You need someone that has the money and that will raise enough money to raise an army.
How does he have the money?
Every single Torres?
Yeah. I don't know anything about anyone.
Oh no, Torres is like a multi-millionaire.
No idea.
He sells. He's an arms dealer.
He's a long lost member of the family.
Yes, he is. And so with him, he has the money to raise an army to touch every single voter in that district. Yeah. James Judd doesn't have that at the moment, and when I talked to him, I told him, hey, you need to raise 1 to 1.4, and you need to make sure you understand that you're running in a purple county, not a Republican county.
And it's still like a light blue.
Exactly.
It's not even purple.
Like once you realize that is what you're running for, then you can curtail your verbiage. Because this is not in the middle of like Okeechobee. Like you have to run a middle of the road race in that district.
Right.
You just have to, or you're not going to win.
Yeah.
And then what's the point?
But just remember, and the Republicans, don't want to hear me say this, but that seat is not designed for Republicans.
But we've learned that. We've learned that the hard way, and yet there are people that have been involved as long as we have, if not longer, and they still think every cycle that we have some sort of shot at it.
We need to have a Republican every single district running every single.
And now I'm about challenging the Democrats on their territory and making them spend money. Don't get me wrong. I think there's nothing wrong with trying to bleed the opposition, right? So to make them spend money, run in the city council races, run in the county commission races.
Yeah, but my issue with it is that takes away resources from the other campaigns.
Well, that's because you got to get the right candidate. Yeah. So the problem.
But we had the right candidate in this position that could have the funding to run in DC and CD14, and the more red-blooded Republican won in this district.
Right. So I'm not debating all that. I'm just saying that, you get a decent candidate in a race that can raise some money, so it forces the Democrats to spend money on a race that they shouldn't be spending money on. But for those that are watching that don't know the districts and the way they're drawn, basically what happens is that through redistricting, we have this solidly blue district in the middle of Tampa, okay? And the idea is that by all of the Democrats, a lot of the Democrats being located there in that district, it makes it easier and more favorable for Republicans to run in the other districts. Mm-hmm. And you can call that gerrymandering if you want to. Apportionment of districts is a political process. The founders set it up that way. It's not for judges. It's not for us. It's not for us to decide, really. It's It's a political process that goes through the legislature. That's the way the districts are run. And if you are a Republican trying to get elected in Chicago, you can forget it. And the reason why is because they've got the Republicans all split up to where none of them can get together and vote. So it is what it is. But the bottom line is that the Republicans win other seats around Tampa because that Tampa district is solidly Democrat, and Kathy Castor's going to be there until she dies.
And my point against Jerry is that if he's a self-funder, or if he has the funds for a self-funder, there's no reason why he should have gotten spanked that hard in the primary.
Well, the reason why he got spanked that hard in the primary is because the controversy of him technically not being in the district.
Yeah, but you know what? You make like Rick Scott and spend money.
Yeah.
And that's what he should have done.
It wasn't enough. It was not. He did not spend the money.
Well, maybe he didn't want to spend $1 million on a race in a primary that he knew may not result in a win.
He just jumped in, and he jumped in way too late. James Judd has been in that race for a very long time.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that he won. I just don't think he'll be able to advance after the
Well, and I think we kind of see an overall kind of message here, in a lot of these races, which is don't jump in late.
Yeah.
If you're going to jump in late, just don't jump in at all.
Yeah.
Wait it out till next time.
If you've already got name ID, jump in as a spoiler. If you got name ID and money, you can jump in late.
But those people know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. They know what they're doing. But yeah, you're right. You gotta.
It's like Ross, like Ross, like also like Sean Harrison, who we're going to talk about maybe when we talk about the Senate, some of the Senate races. Again, he jumped in. Kind of took notice of which way the winds were blowing. He says, "Well, not my turn," and he stepped out.
And that's
his statement was, "I'm good. I don't need to be a senator."
And that's the thing that makes sense in his position. And again, this is someone that's weathered the storm, has been in the fight before, and knows when to say, "I'm
he understood.
good."
He saw what was up.
Well,
he saw what was up because, because the guy that won is a former. Green Beret.
Okay.
And he went, and I'm sure he had
the blessing of the governor.
I'm sure he had a conversation with the governor.
Before we go into House races, my God, these people. The last race I would like to talk about is U.S. House District 7 with Anthony Sabatini not winning that race. Johnny and I, and even you, we've all had this conversation in the past that we just felt that he was too much of a fire breather. And because of that, I don't think the people wanted that.
He lost by 14.
And there's like 10 people in this race. My God.
Yeah, a lot of people.
There's a lot of people in the race.
Him and 2 other people.
Yeah. So I was like, we already have Matt Gaetz.
I was surprised that Sabatini didn't do. I was surprised Sabatini didn't do better. But I think it came down to money. I think
he had a lot of money.
No, he had a lot of money. But if I remember correctly, this guy that won, Corey Mills, I think he ended up somehow with millions.
Well, Corey Mills is actually an heir to the Mills dynasty.
Is he?
Mills dynasty.
No, I think he showed up. For some reason, 3 million sticks out in my mind, and I think Sabatini had like 750,000, maybe $1 million.
And you know what you do for that particular? Because that's a solid red district.
But that was Anthony's race to lose.
Yeah, it was his race. He got in extremely early. He actually jumped in a different district.
He did
to be able to run into.
Yeah, and everybody's like, right? And everybody's like, "What are you doing?"
No, he was in Daniel Webster's district.
Yeah, he wanted to start raising money.
Just to file.
And Webster also swept the floor in his primary.
Which district is Webster?
Against Laura Loomer.
Yep.
Which I was surprised by that because didn't she have like the Trump?
Well, Laura, I don't know if she was. I don't know if she.
Oh, okay. So Laura Loomer. So it's 51.1 to 44. That's a decent lose.
Yeah, he did. Well, for a sitting congressman.
But you're talking about
striking distance.
I mean, isn't she like a Fox News person?
Yeah, I think so.
And then she's super tight with the Trump campaign.
Yeah, she was within 7 points, which is not close, but it's not like she got embarrassed either. I mean,
and
what
also
saved him was incumbency.
Yes, because the third did not spoil it. It's not enough of a percentage to have spoiled it.
Well, and Webster's been in Congress as long as I can
remember.
remember.
Very long time. He's been in Congress since I was in high school.
He's been in Congress for a while, and prior to that, he was in the state Senate, and he was also Speaker of the Florida House. He was the first Republican Speaker of the Florida House.
So that means that was during the.
But see,
he did good things. He did good things for sure when he was.
Yeah, but everyone in that generation is dead. So at the end of the day,
Yeah, but
He's
the
a
people
good
that are
man.
supporting him
He
are
is
the
a good
people
man,
that understand the process, and they realize that somebody like Laura Loomer is just going to go to DC, and all they're going to do is spew the red meat.
She's gonna have 1 million
And
followers.
I'm telling
write
you,
a
we
book,
have
you know,
we
whatever.
have Matt Gates.
Not really going to get
We
anything
have
done.
Anna Polina Luna, who I'm expecting that she's going to go toe to toe with AOC. If those two are not fighting each other on the floor of the House, then I don't know what the reason why we sent her to DC.
Because they're not going to get anything done, especially as a freshman.
No one's going to get ish done.
Daniel Webster put out a DVD set, probably CDs. I don't know what, you know. He put out I think he originally had it on VHS, I believe. But I can't find it anymore. But I had a DVD copy of his How to Run for Office.
Oh wow!
Hey, I'm telling you what,
probably in a box
and I can't
You
find
gotta
it.
find it.
And I wish I could find it. I know. I wish I could find it because he's super young in the video, right? And has no gray hair. You know, super young. But here's the thing, though. It's an excellent. It's literally a tutorial.
It's a great primer
on how to run for office. And the one thing that I remember from it that he mentioned was he said before you even start, before you ever file nothing, he said you need to have 15 people that are close to you.
Oh, I've heard this. Yes,
that you can count on that are fully committed to helping you. That doesn't mean that they all give money or all knock doors, but you need to have 15 people. I remember him saying that, and I just thought to myself, you know, if you look at a lot of candidates, sometimes they don't have 15 people in their whole campaign, right? And we've all been there.
Yep.
If you've worked on a campaign or been the candidate, you've been there. There's some days where
people in the room,
you know, you're just hoping someone else shows up. You know?
Right.
And it's
you're grateful
Florida.
if you can fill the dining room table.
Yeah, it's Florida. It's August. It's hot. Who wants to go knock 1,000 doors this weekend? You know, nope. You know, it's hard, and so I just remember some of the advice in that. It was good. I mean, because he's been in the part of the process for a long time.
He's a good old Florida boy,
and he's a good man. I mean, to your point, Johnny, I think I'm sure he's not perfect. I'm sure he's got some votes that maybe I wouldn't be happy with, but
that's going to happen when you've been in Congress as long as he has.
He's also probably going to be in a pretty good position when Republicans take over. And if you live in that district, you want your guy or your girl to have some influence. You want them to be able to get some stuff done. Well, and I think
he's on the verge. If I read correctly, Florida Politics did a good rundown of the winners and losers of the primary, and I think he might be up for chairman of Ways and Means.
Really?
Which would be huge.
Yeah.
Which, again, goes along with his seniority.
That means we're going to get some money out of that seat.
And last thing I'm going to say about Daniel Webster applies, I think, to just in general. The older I get, I have to admit it, the older I like my candidates. I mean, look, I've been excited about politics since I was a kid, so I've been that kid. But it just seems a little odd sometimes when you see people running for public office
that are younger than you,
that are just really, really young, and it's like, you know, I mean.
I have not used the word whippersnapper so many times.
Do you really kind of understand? Like, you don't, bro, you don't have a mortgage.
Bro, you're on your first marriage.
Like, you don't have a mortgage. You live at home. Like, we don't share anything in common. You're not married. You got no kids. You got no mortgage.
You're renting.
Like, you know, we don't, my life and your life just are not the same.
Right.
You know, and that's that. Look, people can't control their age. There's nothing wrong with being
loving
young.
This conversation.
Nothing wrong with being young, but it's just about.
But a perfect example is our friend Byron Donalds from Southwest Florida. You know, who has really kind of come into his own and really becoming a star within the party. But he went and had to do his 8 years or 6 or 8 years in the state legislature, to work his way back up to where he wanted to be, which was in Congress. His first race was in Congress, and everybody said, no thanks, you're too young, whatever. I'm sure he got all the excuses under the book, under the sun, and ran for state house, which was a good move for him. And he's a force.
Now he still looks young. But you see,
because black don't crack.
You see a picture of him. I mean, look, he's got a nice family.
Great looking family.
Got his family together.
What district is he again?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm trying to find it.
It's that district full of old people.
It's that
That's
just
right.
old white people,
old white rich people.
old white rich people.
Yeah,
That's
they
right.
got, they got a young black man representing a bunch of old
Yeah.
rich white.
And
people.
he knocked out a few self-funders down there.
Yes.
Did he?
Oh
Yes.
yeah, he had a nasty
Because
primary.
when he originally, that's right.
Huge primary.
That's right.
Oh.
He did because he had Dane Eagle that was in that
Yeah.
race.
That dropped
and There
out.
was something. No. He stayed in.
At the end, Byron Donald. It was only 2 people at the end because he knocked them all out
Right.
ahead of time. So it was Byron, and then it was Jim Hoff.
They probably tried to.
That's this year. I'm talking about when he first won.
Oh, we're talking about this year.
I'm saying when Byron Donald's first.
No, we're
won.
talking about
We were talking about
When he first got elected to Congress.
He had a slugfest. He had a slugfest to get.
It was
there.
at least 6 or more people in that
And
race.
I remember it
there
was a
were
lot of
two.
people.
There were 2 candidates other than him that were like for real serious candidates
Yeah.
that he had to overcome, and he overcame them.
Yeah.
All right.
So, all right. Well, we don't have a whole lot of time left, so we need to get into the state house.
We have to get into the state house. Okay, so let's start off with. I'll do just the
Let's
highlights.
just do quick. Yeah.
So our buddy in the Florida House District
State Senate
59.
first.
Yes.
State Senate
Who's
first.
in state senate besides?
Oh well,
There was no primary.
no primaries. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So state senate with 59. Benny Jack Bernie Jack
Jacks.
won his seat. I don't know.
How long have you known Bernie?
I know.
I know.
Oh
sorry.
my God,
I'm
that's
sorry.
That's like borderline offensive.
How is that borderline offensive?
So he
You
did,
literally
so he-
just butchered his name, and
Yeah, I
you've known
know.
the guy for
Yeah.
over a decade.
People butcher my name all the time too, and I don't blame them.
Well, it's because it's weird.
My name is weird.
Yes.
You're killing time right now.
Anibal,
to talk-
Anibal.
You know what?
Is it-
Anyways,
Bernie
is it
pulled it
Hannibal?
out.
Bernie, I'm so happy that you won your race, and we're very excited for that seat. I think that was a great run. That
He earned
did.
it.
He earned it.
Earned it.
He walked that entire district multiple
This
times.
is what, his third shot?
This was his 3rd attempt,
Yeah.
and he was humble every single time.
Yeah.
he lost, and he finally won, and he's done great. So he's done really good. Our next is CD.
I hope he makes amends with the leadership.
I don't.
Yeah,
think so.
because he was he wasn't. I think he
That was actually one of
Respectable,
the consultant we were discussing at lunch.
Oh, okay.
That was one of his losses.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what leadership is going to do. From what I understand, leadership is pissed that
bet.
he won.
I'm sure.
I'm trying to find his district real quick, but
Well, when
I wonder if
leadership has their own
FJA
clients at stake,
see
I
that
wonder
is
if
it's becoming a thing.
I wonder if
That's a
FJA
problem.
came in big for Bernie.
The amount
Maybe.
of like backhanding that's happening with these districts, and especially when already elected officials own like campaign companies, like
Right.
that's so weird.
Yeah.
and you should not be a consultant
Who
to
owns a campaign company?
I'm not going
Are you
there.
talking about
Yeah.
Lavala's sign company?
Well, Latval is also doing consulting, but there's another consulting group that literally runs all of the House campaigns, and then also has their own clientele
Yeah. So with
based in Ybor
anyways,
that we were talking about at lunch.
It was
You
50
don't want to give them some props. I mean, they're consultants, just like anybody else.
they lost, and we don't have time to go through this. Okay, 51.
Well, they won the important race.
Anyways, Florida House District 65 was between Karen Pittman and the other individual,
And that's the important race.
and that's the important race that we're talking about, which was 44.1 to 42.3. It was quite an interesting. The 3-way definitely was a spoiler in this situation because at the end of the day, it was less than like 500. It was less than like 400 votes. It was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
How close that was.
It was a close one, but again, the advantage there was that the candidate who shall not be named, well, got in super early.
Super early.
And I think that helped a lot with name ID. And the other candidate who ended up pulling out the win, congratulations to Karen, she got in way late, and I think she could have won by a larger margin had she gotten in earlier.
We all know the backstory to that. She was running for school board at the time.
Right.
And the whole thing was as soon as Jackie makes a decision to move, then everyone will fall in
Right,
place.
right. Yeah.
And so she didn't make the move until the day of, basically. And then everyone had to jump into the position
And
they
it
were.
sucks because that chess game happens
Every time.
every redistricting. I
And you know what? That hurt-
all of
and
a
that
sudden
hurts
you got people lining up for different seats and
Well,
that
'cause you don't know.
may or may not exist.
Yeah,
And
you don't know what's
we
gonna
all
happen.
knew that Jackie was going to leave. And so at the end of the day, what needed to happen was she should have left earlier
Yeah.
because you know who was one of the people that failed in that situation? Ali Lee. Allie was supposed to be
Allie
in that.
Legg.
Allie Legg was supposed to be in that district,
Really?
and decided to not move when Jackie moved,
Got it.
and so that was a huge issue. And again, Allie's a friend of the show, and we all love her.
Yeah.
But
Candace Owens lookalike.
And sadly,
very
I thought, and I thought she was going to do a lot better.
I didn't think she was. I
too.
never thought she was going to win, and I've said this
no,
before.
not win, but I thought I was surprised at the numbers.
I'm not surprised because again,
you'll see her
she
again.
is the we will see her again. But she was the only endorsed school board member that did not win their race because she was running in county-wide in Hillsborough County.
Yeah.
And the moment you lock yourself in with the governor, who's a Republican, these Democrats come out in droves because that's the problem.
Didn't the Democrats choose a white lady over her?
No,
don't
no,
It was Perez, right?
Karen Perez, yeah.
Okay.
So, you can't play that card either.
I was
there.
going to go there. I was going to go there.
The last one we'll hit for this one is 69, which is our friend Danny Alvarez. I didn't butcher that name.
Yeah.
Winning that race, and we're very excited and we're happy that he ran.
His
he won
opponent
his
didn't
race.
show up. She didn't show up at all.
No, some
And
people
then
didn't show up to their own.
I thought it was weird
their
that
own
Michael Minardi, the
watch parties.
lawyer from South, I thought it was weird that he didn't campaign at all. Some people didn't show up to their watch parties.
Some people did not show up to their watch parties.
The what was the other thing? Oh, we ended up with the Hatfields and McCoys running.
Yeah. Well, we talked
ended
about
up with
his
the
yard
Hatfields
sign.
and
His yard
McClure.
sign sitting over there.
Yeah, we ended up with the Hatfields and the McClures running.
Yeah.
Which was odd. I mean, I didn't understand. I mean, look, if you want to run, you want to run for office, whatever. You know, this is America. But I just didn't understand. Like, what was he running against? Like, was
Right.
he
What's his gripe with McClure?
What's your gripe with McClure? Like, what how was he not doing something right or whatever? But
it.
anyway, but I just remember, and I don't know the Hatfield guys, so like, listen, dude, I'm sure you're a great guy. I don't know you, but like, you know, it was just kind of like, I just remember thinking the sign. It was like a real estate agent advertisement.
Yes. Right.
That's all I could think of.
I mean, Anibal could
All
probably
I
pull
could
it.
think about was that it looked like he was
I'm telling you right
taking
now.
on a job as a real estate agent, like as you know.
You
like,
cannot put your
in
face.
retirement.
You cannot
I'm
put
like,
your face on campaign signs. You cannot.
No, it's
those are
weird.
just horrible. They're
It's
so
weird.
weird. Remember, politics are for ugly people, and so because of
Yeah,
that,
politics is Hollywood for ugly people. You don't
this
put
is,
your
this is a thing. You
and
don't.
Then also like, hey, let's just keep it real. Like, you know, look, I mean, I'm 40. What am I now? 44. Like, you know, we've all got a few extra
we
pounds
stopped
or
after
whatever.
42.
Like, you know, like I got a few extra LBs on me, but like I'm not gonna take a picture of me like sideways, like after I've had a full lunch at Fred's Market
Yeah.
in Plant City.
Well, that was
And
my
then-
comment
and then
about the
I'm gonna
yard sign.
And then I'm gonna take my picture. Like,
Yeah.
come on, dude.
Bro,
Like-
it took you 5 tries to do a selfie,
You
and we
don't-
had to edit, like suck it in.
You don't. Yeah, you gotta. You
You gotta do what you gotta do.
It's like those pilots when they're doing the training for the G-forces.
I mean, honestly,
like,
looking
I
at
mean,
his yard sign, I mean, you'd think
that's-
you were actually running for Santa Claus,
Oh,
not
No,
for.
but yeah, like I don't want to pick. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to pick on the guy. I don't know him. I'm sure he's a nice enough guy, but it's
who
like
approved that?
But it's like, dude, go again. Once again, if you've never done this before, get a consultant, talk to somebody, sit down and talk to some people, show someone your artwork and
Yes.
say, I'm thinking about running
Yes.
with this.
Yes.
I went on Fiverr.com or whatever, and this
Yeah.
is what somebody gave me for $15.
Probably
you know?
made it. It was probably made like in Thailand. or
Yeah,
something.
you know,
It
they
just-
gave
it
me
is
this
what it is.
design.
It is
I
what
went
it
online.
These
Is
people
it
don't know what
good?
they're doing. They don't know what they're doing.
And no.
And then they get mad at you when you try to give them a little bit of advice and they get really offended. And I'm like, bro, this is your first time running, and odds are I'm not going to see you after this. So, like, it doesn't even matter what you say right now.
Well, for District 69, though, I mean, obviously there was no surprise. We all knew Danny was going to win. Most of us didn't even know that he had a primary.
I had
challenger.
I did not think he had a primary at all.
And now, and really, but I'll tell you what though, part of the working hard in that primary though for him, I would be willing to bet that if you looked at his walk list, it wasn't all just super Republicans.
Correct.
I bet you he's already shifting
yeah.
to
MPAs.
talking
Well, again,
to some people.
I mean,
that
it
are
was
gonna be
virtually he was
Yeah.
virtually not in a primary.
right,
Yeah.
basically. So that race, I mean, he still got to knock off Andrew Learned, an incumbent Democrat state rep. He's got to knock him off. And I
Which
think
he knows he's in trouble because he's already been trying to message to the middle.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you already see it's happening already. And at the end of the day, Danny is a son of Hillsborough County. Like, people know who he is.
Yeah.
Even when he ran for judge last cycle, everyone was like, yeah, we get it. You'd be a great judge. But that's just not your race. Like, your people are the Florida legislature.
Yeah, and he's been incredibly, I mean, aside from, again, practically being raised in Hillsborough County, I mean, he's super plugged into the community. Is one of those people that, I mean, when I moved here, he was one of the first names that I kept hearing over and over again. Oh, do you know Danny Alvarez? Do you know Danny Alvarez? And again, I mean, he was hesitant for a long time because he wasn't very public about his politics, to be perceived as a Republican. It was just not something he made very public.
Yeah.
But everybody knew that when this day came that he would run for a political office, that he was going to do really well. And honestly, he's doing even better than I expected.
Correct.
Given that district isn't really his stronghold. Like, most of the people that know him live in the city of Tampa and West Tampa, and and he's moved out there some years ago into the district where he lives now and is running in.
Yeah, that district is about now, and I'm thinking of the old lines, which could be even more so. But when I ran for that district, it was 17% Hispanic. And the district's changed now, and they lost some of the Tampa zip codes, so it may even be less. But, I mean, look, I think that area is growing, and it's growing and becoming more diverse, so it's probably not a bad, go for Republicans.
So let's do this. Let's jump into the Hillsborough County School Board millage election, and that will also transition to the tax, and then I think that's it for today.
Wow, we're already.
I know we're there.
time.
We started late. We apologize, everyone, but let's do the Hillsborough millage and the ramifications.
Well, the millage it lost. And it should have. I mean, you
by
had
only 500 votes.
You had Tampa Bay Times. You had Democrats also literally coming out and saying no. I think everybody realizes.
Why do you think they were saying?
Because they know
they're not managing their money. Because you don't spend good money after bad. If somebody hasn't earned your trust with little, you don't give them a lot.
So do you?
What disappointed me was the Tampa Chamber and a bunch of these other chambers were all for it.
Man, they're always
for increasing taxes. It's insane.
You got to be careful about these big businesses. I'm telling you.
Yeah. And they don't even show a legitimate position when it comes to like the vote, because it's all like just buying the vote. So you have these Democrats that are there. They're automatically going to vote for these things. So yeah, no, the fact that it lost by so little, I'm very happy about, but I'm also very scared because Hillsborough County commissioners are stupid, and they're going to try to run that additional tax that they're going to try to push through that failed the last time. It's like literally we're trying every single time, and they get closer and closer and closer, and now we're like, okay, you're going to tax us, and it's just they want this transportation thing for some odd reason, so then we can do what with it? We can add a choo-choo train somewhere. Like, I don't understand.
It's just more slush money.
That's
for Tampa,
all it is
for Tampa to do stuff.
I mean,
so annoyed.
And it'll get spent.
Well, and the problem is that they're squeezing you at the neck by eliminating lanes.
Yes.
I mean, you go anywhere downtown South Tampa now,
bike paths nobody
you've lost
uses.
Lanes, right? Exactly.
I've yet to see a biker. I've yet to see a biker
because it's not safe.
They're not. So and
it's
that's
not
the thing.
safe.
Who bikes on these main
Who
thoroughfares?
wants to drive
when I do
3
see
feet away
someone
from a 5,000-pound?
I have to move my car around
It's
someone
scary,
because
dude.
I don't want to hit. And they have a lane, and there's no space.
Nah, it's scary.
It's very much.
You would never catch me on a bike on one of those lanes.
I would rather you guys spend the money on figuring out what to do, because also we're going to have a huge problem with homelessness because they keep on pushing the homeless populations out into the suburbs, and those homeless guys are not staying there. So now you have that Ybor City area where you're going to get rid of all of that affordable housing, and just who would have thought Democrats would be pushing black people out of Tampa?
Yeah.
That's literally what's happening. And no one's calling it there.
Yeah, but it's still
out.
becoming more liberal.
They have almost a 3-year waiting list for affordable housing.
And they won't build more housing. They're
just not building it fast enough. I mean,
they're not approving it. They're not approving it.
I posted a meme about this the other day. It's like, you say you want more affordable housing, right? But what happens is the county, or in this case, the county and the city, they end up regulating you and zoning you to death, so it costs too much. Yeah. So what do builders do? They build $500,000 condos and houses. And then everybody says, oh, we need affordable housing. So then the government says, okay, you can't build anything unless it's going to be affordable housing.
Yeah.
So then no housing gets built. Yeah. And then everybody's like, oh, crap, there's no housing. And so then the cost of housing goes up because there's no supply. And then then the cycle
shell
starts
game.
over
Yeah.
again.
You don't think builders would love to be able to spend maybe $100,000 with actually building the house so they can sell it for $250,000?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what, if you could bring down the cost of
They don't
building,
care.
then they wouldn't care because they're still
don't
going to make
care.
their percentage.
Yeah.
But they don't care, and they can do multiple things. So Lauren makes a comment of more money can't fix poor stewardship, your part. And then Kimberly Davis says there's a lawsuit against the referendum language, so it might not even be on the ballot in November. So it's a mess all around.
So the lawsuit is basically that the language is like not it's not accurate.
It's misleading.
It's
Well,
misleading. That
yeah,
it's
because they
misleading
know
language.
that if they're honest and
Yeah.
transparent about the
Yeah,
language, that it's going to
misleading.
die.
And what they've always done, and they're doing it again this time, is they try to pull in constituencies. They try to create constituencies by saying it's going to be for roads and bridges and fixing potholes in Sun City, Riverview, Brandon, Plain City, Tampa. And it's like, why do you have to mention all that? Because they're trying to make the voters in that area believe
They won't do
that they're going
anything.
to get something. And the bottom line is, all you're doing is sending your money to downtown Tampa so that they can build a choo-choo train.
So Scott makes a real Scott running for District 1 says the same. Says it's starting to add this into his stump speech about like how we have been talking about building, refining, and redoing all the roads and sewers and everything else for the last 50 years. But yet you get a 5-minute thunderstorm south of Gandy, and it's a flood zone
And it
out
floods.
there.
South of Kennedy, South of Kennedy.
South of Kennedy, and it's a
like
flood
they can't
zone. And he's
even-
like,
yeah.
and he's like, he was talking about remembering times when they went canoeing down Bayshore. I remember jet skiing down Bayshore during a really bad storm. So like this thing
I would have loved
keeps
to
on
have
going.
seen that.
So I think until there is a change, nothing will ever change. So we'll see what happens.
I want to see Anibal on a jet ski.
Oh, it happened. It happened once.
I want you to jump.
and it
I want you
won't
to
happen
jump
again.
jump
Why?
the little-
Because everyone has a cell phone now. But Johnny, what were you gonna say?
No, well, what's left? So,
No, that's it. We cut the last one.
okay, all right. So, all right, folks. Again,
You're welcome.
we're working on being a little bit more judicious about the length of the show here.
You're
so
welcome.
we're going to go ahead and bring it in for a close. Again, we're going to continue to watch all these elections, and probably in an upcoming episode, we'll pick apart the effect of direct mail and just how.
Let's do predictions
Yeah. Well. What?
for the upcoming.
Add in one more
for
thing.
November.
Oh, no, not right now.
Oh, you don't want to do that?
No. We got to go. So
Why can't we do one more thing?
Well, we'll do predictions closer to the November election.
Okay.
Because obviously so much can happen.
All
from here
Republicans
until then.
except for CD14 are going to win.
All Republicans except for City 14 win.
Man, I hope so. I mean,
Oh my gosh! And we could have probably even taken 14 if we
Look,
didn't have the
there-
Supreme Court
Y'all
make
sure
their
y'all,
comment about abortion.
y'all don't want to talk about the redacted?
we may actually
Trump,
have three.
warrant?
We may actually have 3 Republicans back in the county commission.
Look at that! Oh,
that would be crazy, but it's a possibility.
It's a possibility. We could get 4, but
No way.
there's a lot of training that needs to get done for the 4th one.
Yeah, I don't think that one. That one.
I don't think that dog gonna hunt.
No. All right. On behalf of
You
Anibal,
can't
David
even
Cabrera.
say. Don't say country sayings if you don't even know what it is.
I know what that means.
That dog can't.
I know what
he
that
can't-
means.
His shoulder hunt. It's like
I didn't say shoulder hunt.
like what?
I said gonna hunt.
Gonna hunt. You know,
Oh my god! I'm sorry that
You
we're
tell
not
him, Joe.
We're not candying strawberries this
fake,
time
you
around.
can't- Don't fake a country accent, dude. Come on.
I was born and raised in Lutz, so let's move on.
Nuts.
Yes.
All right. On behalf of
Sorry.
Anibal, David Cabrera, Joe Wicker, I'm Jonny Torres. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the audio portion of our podcast. And again, thank you so much to our friends over at Community Patriots. That's community-patriots.com. Get involved as we get closer to the November elections. They need your help. Our candidates need your help. And Community Patriots is an amazing organization to be a part of. So look them up at community-patriots.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the audio version of our podcast over at the Tech Overlords at Google, Apple, Spotify, Audible, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Odyssey, and Samsung podcast platforms. Until next time, good night, everybody. Good night.